Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into a genuinely gripping true crime story. But this isn't just about the past. It's where a century-old mystery collides with the absolute cutting edge of tomorrow's technology. We're looking at this wild scenario where a highly advanced AI actually manages to solve the infamous 1888 Jack the Ripper case. But here's the kicker. The discovery doesn't end with, a massive celebration or historians rewriting the textbooks. Instead, it triggers an unprecedented massive state cover-up.
I mean, really, imagine the implications here. What if cutting-edge technology actually cracked the world's most infamous cold case? We've spent well over a century obsessing over who Jack the Ripper was. But if a machine finally handed us the definitive, undeniable answer, ask yourself, what would you actually do with that earth-shattering truth? Would you broadcast it to the whole world? Or would you hesitate? Keep that question right in the back of your mind as we follow our characters down into the very foundations of the British justice system.
All right, let's jump right into part one, inside the Yard's vault and breaking into the cold case archive.
So, our investigation kicks off in a place very few people ever get to see. We're talking about the dusty, vinegar-scented basement vault of Scotland Yard. It's this deep archive, literally filled with a century of trapped dampness and buried secrets. Down here, we meet an American student named Bill Gaines. Now, Bill leverages his diplomat father's heavy political favors to completely bypass armed guards and access this plain cardboard box labeled HO144/220/A49301. Inside that exact box are the original Jack the Ripper files. But Bill hasn't come alone. He brought along Socrates. Now, Socrates is a highly experimental AI built by a rogue MIT genius. He's definitely not your standard commercial software. He's built with this incredibly unique empathy and intuition matrix, and he actually speaks with a warm, baritone voice. It makes him sound way more like an old friend reading philosophy by a fireplace than a machine. It perfectly captures his personality. As he puts it, he's incapable of making you look foolish, though he cannot always save you from yourself. Socrates is designed not just to crunch data, but to actually understand human nature. Moving on to part two, the forensic DNA breakthrough and extracting the past. The story really accelerates when a young woman named Martha Defoe arrives. She's a senior lab assistant, super crisp, efficient, and honestly, deeply skeptical of Bell. But her skepticism totally vanishes when Socrates, using a high-definition camera, spots something incredible on the fading red ink of the famous Dear Boss letter. He flags a microscopic biological residue right in the margins. This is a tiny detail that human eyes and standard forensic checks have literally missed for decades. And this kicks off a brilliant forensic process in Martha's subterranean lab. First, Socrates realizes that what archivists assumed was just standard sealing wax is actually a completely dried blood smear. Then, Martha uses a highly specialized solution to carefully dissolve a layer of protective varnish that was applied way back in the 1920s. Ironically, that well-meaning archivist's varnish acted like a perfect time capsule by keeping the oxygen out. Finally, they extract the heavily fragmented DNA, and Socrates starts sequencing it against massive global family tree registries. As the sequencing gets underway, Socrates notes with what sounds like genuine excitement that he has been waiting exactly 138 years for this precise moment. It's such a fascinating concept, right? A machine expressing eager anticipation to map a killer's genetic markers from a century-old ghost. The atmosphere in that lab becomes absolutely electric as Socrates' cooling fans kick into overdrive, processing raw genetic strings to pull a phantom right out of the London fog. Which brings us to parts three, a shocking royal suspect and the genetic match. The tension is skyrocketing now as the AI does its thing. Socrates isn't just checking one database. He's cross-referencing thousands of DNA matches with 1888 historical census records, geographic movements in Whitechapel, and private diaries. The algorithm works methodically, just snapping branches off the family tree one by one. The suspect list drops from 500 to 50 to 10, and finally, down to one single individual. And the result is jaw-dropping. It points to a man with aristocratic features and an absolute aura of untouchable privilege. The DNA leads directly to the living descendants of the British royal family, identifying the Ripper as Prince Albert Victor, the Duke of Clarence. Martha literally gasps because she realizes instantly that this is no longer just an old mystery being solved. This is a complete bombshell that targets the very foundation of the state. Naturally, Bill asks the AI if it's absolutely sure. Socrates chillingly confirms the revelation, stating that his calculated probability of error is less than 0.1%. So the takeaway here is that the data is completely airtight. By calculating geographical timelines, physical descriptions, and a literal, undeniable genetic fingerprint, the royal suspect is locked in. The man the world called Jack the Ripper was royalty, and they now possess the irrefutable proof. But triumph instantly turns to sheer terror. The forensic server suddenly flags their royal genealogy queries. Socrates issues a warning. 2 security officers have abruptly changed their patrol routes, and they're moving with serious urgency toward the sublevel. Martha and Bill have to slam the laptop shut and run for it. Guided by Socrates, who taps into the building's blueprints, they navigate this dark, dizzying maze of narrow, Victorian brick-lined maintenance corridors, finally bursting out into the cold London drizzle just as the alarms start to wail. And that leads us to part 4, the heavy price of truth and the ethics of revelation.
Fast forward to midnight, and they're hiding out in a remote stone cottage in the Cotswolds. The adrenaline of the chase is fading, replaced by a really profound moral crisis. The silence breaks with a furious phone call from Bill's father, Carl Gaines. Scotland Yard is officially treating this as a breach of national security, and Carl's usual diplomatic warmth is completely gone. He's literally on the line with the Home Secretary, and the reality of what Bill has uncovered comes crashing down. Carl demands his son delete the data immediately. He sharply asks, "It achieves nothing but chaos. Does it bring back the women who died in 1888? Carl makes this devastating point that exposing this foundational state secret won't bring any real justice to the victims. Instead, it'll dismantle international relations, collapse trust that took generations to build, and inevitably spark massive riots.
So they are staring down an impossible ethical dilemma. Let's look at this side by side. On one hand, releasing the truth honors the facts, but it practically guarantees devastating international fallout and absolute societal chaos. On the other hand, burying the truth protects the present stability of the nation, acknowledging the hard reality that nothing can actually change the past for the victims. It's a massive battle between the destructive nature of ultimate truth versus the preservation of societal order. Completely unsure of what to do, Bill turns to the most advanced logical matrix on the planet, Socrates. He asks the AI to run a predictive simulation on exactly what happens if they leak the data. And the AI runs an astounding 4,000 social and political projections to calculate the best possible move for humanity. It evaluates literally every possible outcome of revealing that the British royal family harbored the world's most notorious serial killer. Out of those 4,000 projections, Socrates delivers this deeply philosophical, almost melancholic conclusion. He tells Bill, "The victims are at peace, Billy. The living will not be." The AI advises them to wipe his local storage arrays and return the drive to Scotland Yard. Socrates calculates that the truth will not bring justice, it'll only bring a different kind of violence. Some secrets, he deduces, are buried by history because the earth simply cannot support the weight of them. This takes us into our final section, Part 5, the official state cover-up and erasing the discovery. In the end, they listen to him. They make the choice to bury it. By August 2026, the state machinery has ruthlessly constructed an airtight official narrative. The discovery isn't just erased from the servers, it's wiped from the public consciousness, proving just how efficiently an empire can protect its foundations when threatened. Just look at how Scotland Yard constructed the cover-up. First, they triggered a brief counter-terrorism lockdown in Whitehall to secure everything. Second, Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Edward Byrne held a huge press briefing, totally dismissing the event as an elaborate student stunt. He called it a digital parlor trick, using commercial software to splice modern DNA onto inert materials. And finally, just to prevent any future snooping, the original 1888 physical files were permanently removed and locked away in off-site deep storage. It's frankly fascinating how neatly the authorities tied up all the loose ends. Bill, the American national, was released without a single charge and quietly returned to the U.S., following what they called routine administrative consultations. By completely discrediting the science as a functional fantasy and quietly shuffling away the players involved, the government made absolutely sure that the ghost of the Ripper remains officially lost to the fog of history, laid to rest once and for all. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought derived directly from Socrates' own logic. Are some historical truths simply too dangerous to be shared with the world? When the cost of the truth is societal collapse, is the moral choice actually to lie? It really challenges us to consider if there are buried secrets out there that should remain forever in the dark. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.
I want you to think about what you would have done in that Cotswolds cottage and always keep questioning the history we're told.